Hey guys, we have a really exciting series coming up for you. I have a special guest on this channel. Stirling Cooper is here with me to talk about your bedroom most asked question. So Stirling, why don't you introduce yourself to my audience so they get to know you a little bit more, because you've got a lot of great things to share.
For those of you who don't recognize me, my name is Stirling Cooper. I'm an award-winning adult film star. I'm also a former high-class male companion, and these days I dance around on YouTube and give guys sex advice, basically help them to please their partners in the bedroom more frequently.
It's going to be sexy. It's going to be juicy. We are not holding back. So stay tuned and tune in every week for this very special series.
All right, Celine, I get this question a lot from guys who are in kind of passionless relationships, or the passion starting to dwindle from their relationships. And so I think this is a really good question for us to get a guy and a girl's perspective on, is how to ask for what you want in the bedroom from your partner, or how to get what you want from your partner in the bedroom.
Well, number one, you got to be clear on what you want. Because I think the biggest issue, especially for women, is to know what they want. They kind of expect their partner to be Jedi mind reader, and it just doesn't work that way. You know, I mean, even sometimes I feel guilty, or like we do these little things. We say something, but we really want something else, and we like thinking, you should know that when I say, are you tired? What you're really asking is, are you feeling horny and are you ready to fuck me? and so I caught myself the other day with my husband doing something just like that, and I was like, let me rephrase the question, because I kind of did one of those where I wasn't very clear, and he absolutely did not get it at all. So it's important to know what you want, because you can't ask for it, and if you're not clear, concise, and direct, your man's not going to be able to give it to you.
I think that's really interesting. That kind of coyness, that kind of indirectness is really something that a lot of guys get confused, like coming from their woman. Like that really confuses the hell out of a lot of guys, I think. From the guy's perspective, I think a lot of it, like, to getting what you want from your partner in the bedroom, because especially like if your woman is really into you, if the sex is great in your relationship already, then you're probably not having this problem, right? You're probably already getting what you want in the bedroom. And I actually have this mental framework that I give guys, which helps them to come at sex from a more dominant and leading perspective. I call it the selfish pervert frame of mind. Right, so this sounds a bit weird to start with, but let me get into it. So, I personally believe that it's the man's job to lead in the bedroom for the most part. Like, if a guy wants to excite his woman, if he wants her to be really aroused and turned on, and you know, kind of getting addicted to the sexual experience with him, I think it's about him taking her on this sort of emotional roller coaster in the bedroom. Him really getting her juices flowing, exciting her, being spontaneous, being passionate, being dominant, right? And so I teach guys this idea of the selfish pervert frame of mind, because as a guy, if you come at sex too like methodical and logical and like routine based, you know, it's like, oh, it's Friday night date night, honey, time for my weekly blowjob. You're like, that's the antithesis of passion, right? It's not as exciting as, you know, oh, she's maybe, I don't know, fixing something up in the wardrobe, and he jumps her bones in the closet, and they have spontaneous, passionate sex there in the bedroom. You know, that's way more exciting. That's way more like romance novel, Mills and Boon novel kind of passion, fantasy, than it's our weekly scheduled sex session, right? So this idea of the selfish pervert frame of mind I teach guys is to come at sex from combining these two things, the selfishness and the perversion, right? So if a guy was just selfish, then he would probably, he'd get into bed and he'd be done within 30 seconds and that's no fun for anyone, right? So it's not just the selfish part, but it's the idea of being selfish and kind of going after what you want as a man, being in a dominant, obviously consensual, but a dominant way, and adding in the perversion aspect where your woman, you come at it from this animalistic perspective of, she is my sexual muse. She is like the outlet for like this. I just channel all my sexual energy into her, and I have this perverted kind of perspective of, I want to explore every nook and cranny and inch of her body, right? So that you're coming at it from this kind of a selfish perspective, as in, I'm gonna have fun with her how I want to, and she's coming along for this ride, and I'm like, you know, I'm the guy, I'm the conductor in charge of like the train or whatever. I'm the guy who's controlling the roller coaster, but it's ultimately my roller coaster, and she's on the ride, and we're both gonna have a great time, but I'm gonna ultimately kind of get what I want in the bedroom because I'm leading, because I'm being kind of quote unquote selfish, but at the same time I'm being very perverted and passionate about it, and she's getting swept up in this really, you know, passionate, spontaneous sex session along with me. From a woman's perspective, how does that actually come across? When I'm trying to like kind of logically explain like a almost like a feeling, like an emotional experience, but how does that come across to you?
It seems quite right on in terms of, you know, even when women say, I want to be in charge, like there's nothing sexier than a guy who takes charge. Like we think we want to be in charge, but what we really want, we do want to be taken. And when the man can step it up and be more dominant and then go for what he wants, but still be considerate of what we want, that's kind of how it goes. And I think it ties into, how do you ask for what you want as a woman now that you've become clear about, you know, what you want? It's asking with pleasure. It's using your pleasure to inspire him. And that's how you kind of get your man to do what you want, making him think that it was your idea, but leading with and through pleasure. And so the way that it looks like is something like, oh, I love it when you play with my nipples and suck on them. And it's like, oh, you give him the exact description and you give him the manual so that he knows like the ABC, you know, because he's going to want to do that. And you reinforce all the good things that he does so that he feels validated, he feels strong, he feels masculine, and he wants to continue to be your hero and deliver to you.
That's really good. You're kind of playing on the male ego there, which is it's not a bad thing. That's a good thing, you know, because it's what's that? It's like an old expression where if you want to reinforce a behavior in somebody, you, even if they haven't done it yet, you compliment them for doing it. You know, like if you had kids or something, you'd be like, oh, Timmy, thank you for taking the trash out, and he hasn't taken the trash out yet, whatever. You know, like you kind of you're positively reinforcing behavior you want to see in somebody. So that's a perfect example of doing it to dudes. By playing with their ego, like he wants to feel like he's the man. He wants to feel like you said, he wants to feel masculine. Every man wants to feel like they get their woman off. They're pleasing their lover. Every man really, their ego is stroked by their woman writhing in pleasure. So if you tap into that and say, oh baby, I love it when you do blah blah blah, the XYZ thing, it's just like, oh yes you do, and he'll tap into it.
It also works to the female principle, because being in your pleasure is all about surrendering and opening up and receiving. So it's not manipulating. It's not about trying to coerce him into doing something. It's about doing a co-creation. The more you're in touch with your pleasure, the more you surrender, the more you feel connected to your feminine essence, and that feeds you. And the more he sees you in your feminine essence, the more he steps into his masculine essence. You've got polarity, and the two of you just want to jump bones.
Yeah, that's important, that polarity of asking, like, to really get what you want in the bedroom, there has to be like that passion and that excitement, and that I fundamentally think that comes from the masculine and the feminine polarity. Like you said, women want to be taken, right? And a man wants to feel like he's the man. He wants to feel in charge to a degree, right? And I get a lot of guys who kind of have, they come to me with sort of questions or problems about, I'm not used to being dominant. I'm not used to leading in the bedroom. How do I kind of tap into that and get used to that? And I think for it just starts with little things, like not necessarily trying to sort of logic your way and ask for permission like every step of the way in the bedroom, because it has to be organic and it has to be passionate and it has to be real. And the more you kind of logic it and be like, oh, you want to try this tonight in the bedroom? Like as an example, maybe you want to like blindfold her, right? Maybe you want to blindfold your partner or something in the bedroom. You want to try it out, right? Rather than, kind of like discussing it like a committee beforehand. I think it's far better for a guy to I mean, it's just a blindfold. It's not going to hurt anybody, right? But have that, say, hidden behind the pillow, and then during the act of sex, okay, pull it out, surprise her with it, try it on, and see how she likes it. Be taking the risk of, okay, maybe she doesn't like it, and that's fine. If she doesn't like it, you don't do it. But at least having the balls to try it and take a risk is better than trying to come at it really logically and schedule it and
and stay safe.
And stay safe, yeah, because there's, like you said, we want to be taken. There's an element to sex which is dangerous. Like that's kind of the fun, exciting part of sex. Which is why it's such a complex thing to teach people and to talk about, because it taps into our primal nature. It really taps into that kind of dark side of us to a degree, because it's if you think about it, sex is kind of a violent act in a way. It's like like a sword penetrating. You know what I mean? That's if you look at like ancient symbols and the phallus, and people liken it to a sword and stuff. So you think of sex can actually be kind of thought of as a very physical, violent, quote unquote, pseudo violent kind of act in a lot of ways. But I digress.
Well, there you have it. You got to know what you want. You're going to do it with pleasure for the women. And what's your the perverted one version?
Selfish pervert. Yeah,
exactly.
But for me, I've had a lot of guys use that with quite a lot of success, and it also helps them to get over kind of like any nerves as well. I help guys with performance anxiety and things like that as well. And this is a frame of mind that really can take a lot of the pressure off of a guy. Mm-hmm. If he's not sort of trying to please, really desperately trying to please his partner, he's more concerned with just enjoying the moment and exploring her body and having fun with it. That takes away a ton of pressure and a lot of weight off his shoulders.
Yeah, and I'd say I would add one last thing is also talk about sex outside of the bedroom, because when you were talking about the example of doing the blindfold, it's not always a situation that will really work on everyone, especially if somebody is, let's say, claustrophobic, they have some issues, like actually it could trigger something that could come up. And I've had that happen to me. I mean, like with BDSM stuff, sometimes like you don't always know. So you have to play it. I mean, yes, you got to take risks, but you also need to pay attention to your partner. So I think sometimes the best thing is also to discuss things and do like a sex bucket list and talk about things you would want to try at some point, so that you have a little bit of an idea of what you could try later on. You don't really want to talk about it while you're in the act. I mean, unless it's the thing that turns you on. But I always recommend for people to do that prior, to have it's the best thing to talk about on a date night. The kind of sex you like, the kind of sex you want, like at the restaurant, it's so much better than talking about your kids' accomplishments. I mean, come on, if you want to get turned on, right? And so if you can do that, then you can have some ideas about what your partner likes, might want to try, and then you can surprise your partner at the right time with what they've shared earlier.
Yeah, you sort of keep that in the back of your mind. Exactly. You make a little mental note of it, like, okay, she said that, she said this thing. Yeah. And then then I know to bring that out in like a week or two's time or whatever, when she's sort of forgotten we had this conversation.
Yeah.
And then magically you look like you have read her mind.
Exactly. Exactly. And we want that. We want you to pay attention. It tells us that you're paying attention to us and you see us and you appreciate us and you love us. So it's a big win-win.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel as well as Stirling's YouTube channel, and just keep watching a few more videos.